Hi, I'm Lisa. I believe this video will inspire you a lot to continue to study English. You will listen to my conversation with the famous polyglot. A polyglot is a person who speaks many different languages. At the end of the video, you will watch him speaking 9 of the different languages, but he speaks around 20. He's really amazing. I will teach you the different expressions that he was using, expressions that native speakers use, and I will give you other sample sentences so that you can practice using these expressions. For example, he used the expression "in the long run." A non-native speaker might say, "Eventually, it will be beneficial." But a native speaker might say, "It'll be beneficial in the long run." He will give you a lot of useful tips, a lot of techniques that he uses when he's learning different languages, and he will explain to you why he believes that making mistakes is good when you're studying English. His name is Steve Kaufmann. I really admire his dedication to learning foreign languages. He has an amazing process for learning all those different languages, and he has the right attitude. He will talk to you about the importance of having a good, positive attitude when you're studying English. Let's listen to the first part of my conversation with Steve, and then I will come back and I will teach you some expressions that he used. So I'm so excited to talk to Steve Kaufmann, the polyglot. Steve, can you...
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, can you explain to us what polyglot means?
Polyglot comes from the Greek, many tongues. It means someone who speaks many languages. And I think that more and more English speakers are getting used to that word, but it's not something a lot of people have heard before.
I agree. You are very quotable. One of the things I've noticed about you is you have these sayings that are very motivational. And one of the ones that I heard you say, you said it in French, but then we can explain what it means. You said, "L'appétit vient en mangeant." The appetite comes by eating, through eating. Can you explain how that's related to language learning?
Yes, because often people, they may not be tremendously motivated to learn a language, English or some other language. But once they get going in it, and particularly if they can engage with interesting content that's of interest to them, they find that they become more and more motivated, that their appetite for that, maybe you look at the food and it maybe it looks nice or doesn't look nice or it smells nice or not, and you start eating it and it's quite tasty, and so you become more and more motivated. So you have to engage. You have to engage with the language, with content, in order to get committed.
I said to Steve, "You're very quotable." You are very quotable. And if someone is quotable, it means they say interesting things, things that are memorable. They make interesting statements and you want to quote them. We can say, "That film has many quotable lines." His excellent speech was full of quotable statements. Let's listen to the way Steve used the expression "to get going."
But once they get going in it, and particularly if they can engage with interesting content that's of interest to them, they find that they become more and more motivated.
He said, once they get going in it. To get going is to start doing something, to start to go, or to start after a delay. You can say, "Let's get going on that project." Or when you're visiting a friend, you can say, "It was great to see you, but I'd better get going." Steve was talking a lot about engaging with a language. So I asked him, what does it mean to be engaged with a language? Let's listen to his answer.
So you have to engage. You have to engage with the language, with content, in order to get committed.
He said, you should engage in interesting content. And that means to participate in it, to do something with it, to use it. You can use to engage this way. We engaged in a long conversation. Or that book engaged my attention. And you can also use it as an adjective. You can say that something is engaging. It's interesting. It catches your attention. That was an engaging film. She has an engaging personality.
Okay, see, this gets back to what I think is the most important thing in language learning, and that's the attitude of the learner. So you have to have an attitude that you like the language. Maybe not everything in the language, but you like someone, or you like a movie, or you like a book, or you like some aspect of the language, something that, to use a colloquial expression, grabs you. So when you get grabbed, now you're engaged, you're involved. And you also have to get engaged with the process of learning. You have to find a way of learning that you like. So now you're engaged with the language, you like the language, you think you're going to be successful. A lot of people, kind of in the back of their mind, they think they're not improving and they're never going to get anywhere. So this whole process of engagement means being positive about the language and the experience of learning the language.
You said you think you're going to be successful, so you have to have an attitude like you are going to succeed. Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. Can you imagine if you went to climb a mountain and you felt that you were never going to reach the peak? So you're probably not going to reach the peak. So if your attitude is that you're not going to achieve the goal of fluency, and if you don't think you can get there, you probably won't get there.
Right.
So that's important. You've got to have that sense of confidence. You have to feel that what you are doing is worthwhile because you will reach your goal. You shouldn't be saying, gee, I wish I were doing something else. You know, when you're studying languages, you've got to be confident that it's what you want to be doing and that you are going to succeed.
Another one of your quotes that I really like is, if you're unwilling to make mistakes, you will continue to make mistakes. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Making mistakes, forgetting, is all part of learning. In fact, it's good for you. It's good to forget, relearn, forget, relearn. You'll make mistakes. Sometimes they're pointed out, sometimes they're not pointed out. Sometimes you notice them. And you have to be aware of the language, and you'll notice that, and you know which sort of structures you have trouble with. I know when I'm speaking different languages, which structures give me trouble. And so you notice where your mistakes are. Make the mistakes. Make them. Keep making them. If you just stay within the sort of comfort zone of those things that you can say without a mistake, you will never progress. The making of mistakes is going to ensure that in the long run, you will speak with fewer mistakes.
You might know the next word that Steve used. Let's make sure you can pronounce it correctly. He used the word colloquial. Let's listen.
Something that, to use a colloquial expression, grabs you. So when you get grabbed, now you're engaged, you're involved.
He said something that, to use a colloquial expression, grabs you. Colloquial language is informal language, ordinary language, conversational language. Let's pronounce colloquial now. Colloquial. That QU is pronounced like a KW. Qua. Colloquial. Let's say that again. Colloquial language. He said to use a colloquial expression, something that grabs you. Let's listen.
Something that, to use a colloquial expression, grabs you.
If something grabs you, it gets your attention. It affects you. It interests you a lot. You love it. It grabs you. When I first heard that song, it grabbed me, and it still does today. Or you can say, that film grabbed me from the moment it started. And when you study English, Steve recommends that you study something that grabs you, something that excites you, something that you have passion for. That way, you're more likely to keep going. You're more likely to learn more because you're so focused on it and you're curious about it and you want to learn as much as possible about it. So you will be looking in the dictionary for the meaning of the words, and you will probably want to talk about it in English. Let's look at this word. How would you pronounce it? Would you say process or would you say process? Let's listen to the way Steve said it.
And you also have to get engaged with the process of learning.
Steve said you also have to get engaged with the process of learning. But Steve lives in Canada and I live in the United States. And Americans say process. They say process. If you would like to say this word with an American accent, that O will be pronounced as an sound. Process. We would say you have to get engaged with the process of learning. Let's listen to the way Steve used the expression in the back of their mind.
A lot of people, kind of in the back of their mind, they think they're not improving and they're never going to get anywhere.
Steve said, in the back of their mind, they think they're not improving and they're not going to get anywhere. If something is in the back of your mind, you're not actively thinking about it, but it's always there in your mind. It's in the background. It's not your primary thought, but it's still there all the time. You can say, at the back of my mind, I knew he wasn't telling the truth. Or, I've been planning to call you. It's been in the back of my mind for a few weeks. And let's listen to the way he used get anywhere.
A lot of people, kind of in the back of their mind, they think they're not improving and they're never going to get anywhere.
He said they think they're never going to get anywhere. So to get somewhere means to make progress, to be successful, to go in the direction that you want to go in. If you want to say, I'm not improving, you can say, I'm not getting anywhere. Or you can say, this discussion isn't getting anywhere. We're not making any progress. If you don't practice your English, you're not going to get anywhere. Let's listen to the way Steve used the expression to get there.
And if you don't think you can get there, you probably won't get there.
He said, if you don't think you're going to get there, you won't get there. And to get there means to achieve your goal or to arrive. If you're talking about your goals, you can say, I hope I get there one day. But you can also use it this way. Instead of saying, when will we arrive, you can say, when will we get there? Or in the past tense, instead of saying, we arrived late, you can say, we got there late. Let's listen to the way Steve used unwilling. Another one of your quotes that I really like is, if you're unwilling to make mistakes, you will continue to make mistakes. He said, if you're unwilling to make mistakes, you will continue to make mistakes. If you're unwilling to do something, that means you don't want to do it. My boss is unwilling to give me a raise. You probably know the expression comfort zone, right? Let's listen to the way Steve used it.
If you just stay within the sort of comfort zone of those things that you can say without a mistake, you will never progress.
If you stay within your comfort zone when you're learning English, you're never going to improve. A comfort zone is a place or a situation where you feel safe, where you feel secure, where there are no risks. That's a comfort zone. And that's not a good place to be in if you want to learn English. You have to step outside of your comfort zone. You have to do something that you're not comfortable doing, something that's scary. That's how you make progress. We can say, speaking English with strangers forced me out of my comfort zone. Traveling alone is outside of my comfort zone. When is the last time that you did something that was outside of your comfort zone in relation to learning English? Let's listen to how Steve used the expression, in the long run.
The making of mistakes is going to ensure that in the long run, you will speak with fewer mistakes.
Making mistakes in English will ensure that in the long run, you will make fewer mistakes. And in the long run means eventually, after a period of time. I know this is difficult, but in the long run, you'll be glad you did it. It's expensive, but it's good quality, so in the long run, it will save you a lot of money. I like that. Don't be afraid to make mistakes when you're speaking English. If you're unwilling to make mistakes, you're going to continue to make mistakes. That's fantastic advice. And Steve also talks about the importance of improving your vocabulary. He says his main strategy to becoming fluent in a language is to learn as many words as possible. So he devotes a lot of time to learning advanced words. He wants to learn as many advanced words as possible so that he can understand newspapers in that specific language and so that he can understand native speakers and have conversations with them. And I completely agree with him. And a lot of you have taken my online course, 200 Advanced English Words You Must Know for Fluent English. I'm so excited. I just completed the new course. So now the course is 400 advanced English words you must know for fluent English. It consists of 7 hours of video instruction. I teach you the correct pronunciation of each word, and then you practice the word in sentences. And we also talk about the pronunciation rules and the American accent. So when you repeat after me, you make sure you're saying them naturally, like a native speaker. There are also downloadable documents with all the words and additional sentences so that you can practice on your own. And there are quizzes to measure your progress, to make sure you're learning the words. And there are also downloadable audio files of the entire course, all 7 hours. That way you can listen when you're doing something else. For example, when you're going for a walk or driving your car or doing something else. And this new course contains even more advanced words than the previous course. I used to teach advanced English classes for many years, and I kept all of my notes of the difficult words that my students didn't understand when we were reading and discussing newspapers in class. So when I decided to make this course, I went back and I looked over all of my notes and I chose the words that kept coming up again and again that my students didn't understand. I'm really excited about this course. I believe it will take your fluency to the next level. To find out how you can get it, go to my website, accurateenglish.com. Now let's listen to Steve speaking in 9 different languages.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will say a few things in different languages, more or less in the order of my proficiency. Okay? So, bon, la première langue, ça serait le français parce que, bon, c'est la langue que je parle, enfin, mieux que les autres parce que j'ai fait 3 ans d'études en France et je comprends tout, enfin, je me sens très confortable en français. 日本語は多分、2つ目のその言葉はね、多分日本語だと思うんですよ。It's Japanese, right? 9年間日本に住んでたんですよね。だからまあ日本語も別にまあ問題ないっていうことはないけれども、まあ流暢に話します。以后呢，中文的普通话，我这个普通话我没有讲的这个日语和法语那么流利，但是也差不多，什么时候我都可以说出来，什么上下文都差不多听懂。Bueno, podemos hablar español también. Es que hablo español un poco menos bien que los otros, pero y casi nunca hablo español, pero no tengo gran problema leer, escuchar, hablar. He viajado un poco en América Latina y sobre todo en España. Можем говорить по-русски. Это язык, который я начинал изучать после... когда мне было 6-10 лет. So that's Russian, right? What do you want? Jag kan prata svenska. Not so many people speak Swedish, men jag pratar svenska. Det gör jag också, om du vill. Should we go, or you know, I spoke Mandarin, so 廣東話都識講喎。你知唔知廣東話同國語唔係一樣？ So that's Cantonese. Let's go, and we'll move on to the most recent one, Arabic. الآن أدرس اللغة العربية. هي مثير جدا أحب اللغة العربية and أحب استمع وأقرأ حول السياسية حول الوضع في الشرق الأوسط. So I like learning Arabic and hearing and reading about the situation in the Middle East.
And did you say you speak German also?
Ja, ich kann auch Deutsch sprechen. Das kann ich ja auch machen. Weil ich auch, das ist wie Spanisch. Ich spreche nie Deutsch, aber ich verstehe, ich kann viel sagen. Also ich habe keine, aber ich spreche mit sehr viel Fehler. Okay? Aber das spielt keine Rolle. Für mich, das ist kein Problem.
Okay.
You know?
Very impressive.
Yeah. So I speak with mistakes, but I don't mind. And thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much for your time. That was very enjoyable. Steve's fluency in the Arabic language has gotten a lot better since we filmed this video a couple of months ago. You can go to his YouTube channel where he talks about his progress in the different languages that he's learning. And by the way, he started learning Russian when he was 60 years old, and now he's 75 years old. And his Arabic keeps getting better and better, and now he's learning the Farsi language, which is the language of Iran. So don't tell me you're too old to improve your English. Thanks for watching, and keep practicing your English.